lately because I've had a really bad head cold. I've had to cancel interviews and everything over it. And this is the first day I've ventured out since I've been started being sick. I hope you're all keeping well. Lots of people have been asking me to talk about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard defamation lawsuit, which he won yesterday. And I was going to talk about this anyway, even without people asking me, because it's important. Now, I can hear people out there saying things like, oh, Thomas Sheridan, celebrities should be above you, talking about celebrities. No, this is important stuff, and I'll tell you why. Because when these people air their dirty laundry in public, and more importantly, when they go public, you learn lots. This is why you had Hamlet and Othello and King Lear and Macbeth in your English language prospectus when you were in high school. These are the nearest we have to kings, those kinds of royalty and kings today, these Hollywood celebrities. And by observing the slings and arrows of their outrageous fortune, not only can we learn a lot about life, but we can also learn a lot about ourselves and about others and about, the world in general. These as above, so below thing also applies to the Hermetic maxim. It also applies to things like this. So it is important. This is not just celebrity fixation for the sake of it. It's not like watching the Kardashians. What we're seeing unfolding in front of us is in many ways a Shakespearean tragedy played out with sensationalism on mainstream media, news, and other broadcasts. Now, I did not follow the trial obsessively or every day, but I did follow it, and I tried to, watch bits and pieces now and again. And a lot of it was boring, as all court cases are, but some of it was just spellbinding stuff, you have to say. Now, it's very easy to put people we don't know, or when they're compromised emotionally or psychologically, into boxes and say, oh, he's a narcissist, she's a borderline, he's a psycho, she's a junkie, this kind of thing. It's very easy to do that because these kinds of rationalizations are often applied by ourselves to others, particularly celebrities, so we don't have to look at ourselves. Or it reminds us uncomfortably of the stages we went through in our own life. Remember, the monomyth, all the badness of the monomyth, as well as all the goodness is in you. Along with the heroes and saints and sages, inside you is also the asshole, the narcissist, the borderline, and even the person. And we've all done things in our lives that could be considered to have been psychopathic, but it's only when you do them all the time without remorse or learning that you're a psychopath. But we've all done them. I mean, so many people say to me, Thomas, I think I'm a psychopath because I did this. How often did you do it? Once. Do you feel bad about it? I feel terrible about it. You're not a psycho. We've all done things in our lives, all of us, and anyone who says they haven't is a liar, that have made us a villain as much as a hero. The thing of life is that we have to learn from the shadow and use the shadow in order to accentuate the sage, the warrior, the hero, the holy man, the holy woman inside us. That's just how life is, okay? Think of it as a Rembrandt, or think of it as a Rembrandt painting. The colors on a Rembrandt painting don't shine without the darkness in the background. The same with Michelangelo's portraiture, the same with Albert Dürer's paintings. You need the contrast of light and shade. William Turner's red sunsets would not be spectacular without the dark margins on the edge of the canvas. And that's a perfect metaphor. The use of light and shade in classical art in order to describe and understand your life. The darkness is there, the shadow is there. The purpose is to learn from the shadow, to learn from the darkness, so as the good bits of you shine through on the painting of your life. Oh, we're very philosophical this morning. So that's how you should, when you've reached a stage in my life that I have, what Carl Jung would call the senex, the kind of like you've gone through all the shit in your life, and then you're starting to approach individuation. You start to see things in a less impulsive way than you did when you were younger. So let's talk about this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing. Firstly, I think the court case was fair. I think the verdict was fair. I think the verdict that was given in England was grossly unfair. Grossly unfair. And courts can be very, very unfair when they want to be, particularly for political reasons. So, that's a newspaper defamation lawsuit is very, very different than, it's this kind of thing we're seeing witnessing in the court in the USA with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. You can't compare the two. We saw the real story, mostly what happened. Now, the prevailing thing seems to be among sort of feminists and lefties and, what's those type of males? Yeah. Professional nice guys and men with like hero complexes, rapists basically, mind rapists. That she's a woman, a good woman who was destroyed by a powerful celebrity. No, she's very powerful too, believe me. And that Johnny Depp was an abuser. Then the other side of the case is that Johnny Depp is a wonderful person and she's a psycho who took him down. Well, let's approach this. I've been thinking about this fairly, and I think I kind of understand what's going on. I was inclined to think that Amber Heard was a borderline, but now I don't believe that, and I'll tell you why. One of the telltale symbols of a borderline is they attack their exes, all their exes. So if she had said all her previous exes were similar to Johnny Depp, or she'd found ways to attack them, smear them, they're all that's how you tell borderline women. All the exes are all assholes, or psychos, or abusers, and so perverts and drug addicts and so on. She didn't do that. Now there may be legal reasons for that, but in general she doesn't have that reputation. So I don't think she is a borderline. What I think she is she's narcissistic. She's narcissistic, but not in an overtly evil way. I think it's drawn out of deep insecurity. You can be narcissistic and be really an asshole, really, full of yourself, egomaniac. And you can be narcissistic as a kind of an insecurity thing. And I think she falls into that category. So I don't think she's a borderline, but she's definitely narcissistic. What she is mainly is an immature woman who is a woman scorned, or back to Shakespeare again, a woman scorned to the point where it's turned her into a monster. So she's kind of like a proto-psychopath that way. She's not an evil manipulator, I don't think, in the sense that when she's hooked up with Johnny Depp, she set out to do this from the start, like, say, a borderline or a female psychopath would do. I think it's more complicated than that. I think that I'll explain to you why I believe that. Now, before I get to that, I want to talk about Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, I knew he was going to win the case as soon as his exes came forward and said he didn't do what he never treated me like the way she's claiming he treated her. So when especially when Kate Moss showed up, and then we already knew his previous wife, Vanessa Paradis, said he never did things like that. Now, we don't know because she could also be protecting the kids that she had with him. But I think when Kate Moss showed up and said he's not like that, he's not an evil man, the case was over for her there and then. Now, you can always tell the measure of a man by his exes or women that he's known going right back to, say, high school, come up and stand up for him against when these pathological females. That's what the best way to describe her, a pathological female. Although she's probably a hopeless case now. She wasn't a hopeless case prior to this. But the measure of a man is when his ex women, ex wives, ex girlfriends, and long time female friends come forward and say, "You're lying. He's not like that at all. You're lying." A woman can't win against that. There's no way a woman can. You know the way they say, like, we live in an age where women can't, because of the Me Too thing, women can't lose these kinds of they can make these accusations and they can never lose because they put it out there. You fling enough shit, it'll stick. No, it doesn't work. If the man's ex-wives, girlfriends, and longtime female friends come forward and say he was never like this, what are you talking about? You're lying. She's finished from that point on. Finished. She can't. She's no. That's the way. That's because that's women coming back, especially if it's more than one, saying you're a liar, bitch. So that blew up in her face. Okay, I knew the case was over right there and then. When you have a woman with exes who come forward, you can a great measure of a man is that his ex-wives and girlfriends are still his friends. That's to me, when I meet a man, and yeah, we all have bad relations that fall apart, of course, but that's always a measure of a man is that. And any woman, you women who are looking for a husband, you will find or a good man to be with. Look for men who are still friends with their exes, and their exes have nice things to say about them. Don't look for men who all their exes all call them bastards. Same with the women, right? So that showed me that Johnny Depp was a good guy at heart, is a good man, and but he's dysfunctional and toxic in other ways. I don't understand, for all his success and all the life he's had, why his hobbies are alcoholism and cocaine. I don't understand that. I understand addictive personalities. He definitely seems to have that thing going on. And you can be a drug addict and an alcoholic and still be a decent human being. But with all his money and everything and all his success, he has the means to overcome this better than, say, someone living in a council estate or in a poor neighborhood, a poor town. So, and again, I don't judge people's lives by that, but definitely it sounds like he spends way too much of his time in toxic behavior revolving around cocaine. Well, he did. I don't know about now, but according to the court case, surrounding coke and booze, coke and whiskey and stuff like that. It's not good. That's toxic behavior, and a woman should not be subject. If he's making, say, a movie and he's got 3 months between his next movie, not doing anything. Yeah, I know he probably does other things. We saw that artist fella that he gave a life to, and that's all lovely. But you got to be finding, man. You got to be finding things to do other than getting drunk and getting coked up. It's not good. And I actually could understand Amber Heard's feelings about that. She shouldn't be with a guy when he's not working making a movie who's coked up all the time or stoned. That's not fair on her either. That's not fair on her either. So I understand when she said those things about, like, he was always drunk and stoned when he was off and stuff. Yeah, I do sympathize with her for that. It's not a pleasant thing to be in a relationship with someone with an addictive personality. So yeah, there. Again, Johnny Depp is not a bad person, but he's toxic in his own way too. That's as clear as day. Now, she's very toxic, but at the same time too, I kind of don't see pure evil. I think it's more a case for being messed up than being evil. Now, I want to talk about that for a minute. This will probably blow your mind when I say this, but Amber Heard is still in love with Johnny Depp. That's 101 right there. You can take that to the bank. Now, love, when it turns to hate, is still love. When you can't get the love off them anymore and it becomes hate, it's still the same love. You're just craving. You can always tell how here's a classic one. You can always tell how happy a man has made a woman by how much she hates him, and this comes with a proviso, so listen, after they break up. If he slapped her around, beat her up, abused her, She has every right to hate him, and that's legitimate hate. But if they had no more of the slings and arrows of a normal relationship, and she hates his guts, she's still in love with him. That's just a fact. Okay, you can take that to the bank. Now, why would Amber Heard be still in love with Johnny Depp? Well, it's really quite simple. There was when he had his good days, and I mean when he wasn't stoned or on coke, when he had his good days, she was so happy that it was magical. It was beyond magical. So, the days when and it wouldn't be just sex or things like that. It would be things like one day they went to a walk on the beach and had a conversation about bands, and the sun was setting, and she was blissfully happy. One day they went into a store and they had a funny conversation with somebody who worked there, and she was blissfully happy. One, he probably told her jokes all the time, and he has that smile about him, and she never found that happiness with any other man. It was intoxicatingly beautiful for her when it happened. He was the one, okay? And hence why the hatred now. Because when that relationship ended, she knew she was never going to find another man who lit up her soul and heart the way Johnny Depp did at the moment when he was actually at his best. She knows it's all downhill and mundane from this point on. You can always tell that by how a woman turns. And the reason why she turns on him to the level that she does is because she's furious that that's been taken from her. And deep down inside, she knows it's all going to be mundane, sad sacks from this point on. And this is even before the court case. As soon as it ended, she knew that she was never... See, they're still human beings like we are. She knew that she was never going to find that sense of completeness, that sense of joy. When he said a joke or told a funny story and made her laugh, she knows... Yeah, she can get some really good-looking guy to fuck her and all this stuff, and every different fella every night and all this. But that's not what she wants. What she wants is the parts of his personality that lit up every corner of her soul, and that's now gone forever. And that's why I don't. And that's what that. So when that's gone forever, and there's no chance of getting it back, what happens is women like her go the other way around and they attack with visceral hatred. And they make a holy show of themselves in public. And they step into the arena, and because it's all driven by impulse. But more importantly, I would guarantee you that Amber Heard is surrounded by people that goaded her into all this, that goaded her to write that thing that the Washington Post published, that goaded her into saying the worst things and behaving the worst way, that in years down the road she will regret that she ever listened to those people, whether they were the legal team, who was a typical, her female lawyer was a typical waffling, Coranzon affected buffoon, toad, and she was surrounded by other people going, including fellas who probably want to get into her knickers, going, "You go, girl," yeah, or want to secure her for, the white knight types who trying to own her. Yeah, you do that. You go, you tear him down, and she will deeply regret that she ever listened to any of those people down the road. That she would say, "Why couldn't the relationship just break up and I walk away and just forget about it and keep my mouth shut?" But her impulsivity drove her to this. Her impulsivity drove her to this, and that's because she knows that it's all sad sacks from this point out. If she's in a relationship right now and she's attacking Johnny Depp like this, then that guy that she's with is the biggest cook that ever lived. Because and that's a mark of a cook. The number one mark of a cook is not the pornographic version of it, of the guy having sitting watching his wife fucking other fellas. What's worse than a guy sitting and watching his woman screwing other fellas? What's worse than that? Than what a guy with a woman and all she can do is talk about how much she hates the guy that was before her, that just fucked her over, because that's where her heart is. And a real cook is the one. It's not to do with sex. It's to do with in the heart, in the soul. And if you're starting a relationship with a woman and all she can do is say nah 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 all the time at this asshole, this bastard, this asshole, you're a cook because she's still in love with the other guy. That's 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 101 knowledge there for young men. 101. If she is genuinely happy, like for instance, if Amber Heard had have met another fella after Johnny Depp, none of this and he made her happy, none of this would be going on. Because when you love someone, when you're in a new relationship, the last thing you think about is the asshole that's just gone. You're not interested in running a smear campaign or being angry or anything like that. You want to move on with your new love, with your new life. And if that's the one that, but if you're running the smear campaign, like Amber Heard is with Johnny Depp, he's the one that she knows she will never find anyone to replace him in terms of, and it's not just because he's rich and he's handsome and he probably could have a big langer. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that he lit up corners of her soul that will be forever remain in shadow. And she knows this, and she's desperately trying to light the darkest corners of her soul with that same feeling, and she's doing it by attacking Johnny Depp in this way. Now, in this smear campaign, conversely, I bet you Johnny Depp will probably regret that he ever spoke about her leaving a shit in the bed. He'll probably say down the road, she's got to live with that now forever. Oh shit, she didn't do it. A part of him, if he's like, will do that as well, because a part of this is how you learn and grow as a person. Now, and this is how you grow as a person, by saying, I shouldn't have done that. That was bad, even though she was an absolute piece of shit and a piece of fucking work. Maybe I went a bit too far then, and so that's part of lighting. That's part of growing and reaching individuation. So what will happen from this point out? Johnny Depp will continue to be a huge star, make lots of movies, win all kinds of Academy Awards, and be celebrated. What's going to happen to Amber Heard? She'll just vanish into oblivion because she's not learning from this. She's not learning from this. I think when those waterworks that she turned on during the verdict being announced, I think a lot of that was genuine. And I was thinking a lot, that was that was the end of her relation. That was the closure of her relationship with Johnny Depp. She was weeping for the loss of any kind of way of getting that energy back that he once gave her, either through, well, it would only ever be now through hurting him. See, that's why she's hurting him. She's trying to hurt him to the same degree that she's hurting when he discarded her, or they moved on, or broke up, or he walked away, or ghosted her, whatever, however it happened. And when she was crying when that verdict was being read out, it had nothing at all to do with the actual charges and the court's decision. It had everything to do with her. This is it. The relationship is finally over. That was her mourning and weeping the loss of Johnny Depp. That's what that was. That's what that was. She'll just probably vanish. She'll probably, I don't know, become a hero for the Me Too's for a short. But that's all. That whole thing is losing its cachet as well. That's all kind of. That's, because of things like Asia Argento being a paedophile, who was one of the heads of the Me Too thing. That's kind of all gone downhill as well. And she'll get her odd TV show down the road and this kind of thing. But she'll peter into oblivion. She's probably destroyed based just on the thing of the shit in the bed. And that's this is why you don't air your dirty laundry in public. Literally. You don't. And so, the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing, neither one came out of it covered in glory, which is usually the case in any kind of war. But Johnny Depp won, and the court decision was probably fair. Do I think Amber Heard is a psycho? No. Do I think she's a borderline? I don't think so, because she never went after her previous exes. What I think she's a pathological, toxic, poisoned woman who is behaving proto psychopathic, although she's not a psychopath, because she lost the only true joy and happiness in her life when she lost Johnny Depp, and she knows it's not coming back. And that's it. That's the way it goes. You know, it's very easy for me to sit there and say, "Oh, she's a psycho and he's a great man." It's life isn't like that. This is why we study these things, and I said this is why we have Shakespeare on our, our English language perspectives when we're in school. This is life in all its light and shadow. And remember, it's just like a Rembrandt painting. The darkness has to be there in order for the light to show. And I hope you all learn lessons from this trial, because that's why they exist. It has nothing to do with trash celebrity culture. It has everything to do with the story of all our souls there being born out on the screen. Take care. Bye.